Epic. So we are live, Dadpreneur Revolution podcast, and episode 1. This is. So we have an amazing guest, and for being episode 1, this is my number 1 pick of guests. And this is a man that has made a huge impact in my life, and I actually only met him once. And for that being said, that's way enough. For any man to make such an impact in my life. So this man is Huey, and some things about him, more than the impact he's done in my life, he is a father and considered one of the top leading experts in empowering children and families. And he's the host of a podcast called Beyond Risk and Back. And he has an amazing mission, and he believes that people have more power than they acknowledge. And his mission is to awaken confidence and leadership. And something that really touched me is a quote from him. It's not about being better. It's about giving up the struggle to be different from who you are. Aaron, thank you so much for being here. I can't hear you now.
Yeah, I had my mic off. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to do this. Thank you so much. And I'm honored to be on your first episode. That's fantastic.
Thank you. So let's hit it off with some quick check-in questions, basically. Sure. And then we dive deeper into the depth of your heart adventure and the future. So I know you visited my home country, Sweden, some month ago. So could you share some favorite memory or experience you had in Sweden?
Berka. Yeah, very much. Island. Yes, very much Berka, the island. I am a phenomenal Nordic geek. I keep Nordic symbols on me at all times. I am fascinated with the Viking culture and the Viking mythology. And going to Berka, which was such a long-standing outpost of the old Viking traditions and religions, and being in a place, and I actually took one of my hammers and buried it in one of the burial mounds, to remove it later and to wear something like that where a Viking king was buried. So without a doubt, Berka, and it's been one of my goals to go to all of the places that Vikings have settled in Iceland and Finland and Estonia and Denmark, and I've been to 5 of them. So I have many to go because the Vikings went a lot of places. Including just around the corner from where I am right now here in North America. So I'll be going up there soon.
Cool. Thank you. And could you share your experience, how you spend connected quality time with your family? How does that look like?
Well, both of my kids are grown now, and so the connected quality time is far and few between. My daughter is here right now. My son shows up on Friday. I know we'll probably be doing a hike together. My daughter and I were working out yesterday morning at the gym here, and then again this morning. One of my nieces is here, so my daughter and my niece are having breakfast. And with my in-laws, this is just being present. And that'll be something that I talk a lot about. My deepest wounds came from family members not being present with me. And I think I caused the most harm by not being present. So sometimes just sitting in the same room without everybody on their phones doing something else, and every now and then just looking up and talking to each other, but actually staying connected with each other is a big deal.
Yeah. I relate a lot to that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And now, when was the last time that you laughed until you cried? Or if you don't remember a time when you cried so much until you laughed?
The last time I laughed so hard that I cried. Yeah, it was just the other day in the camper with my daughter and my wife. My wife has a heat blister on her lip, and I had forgotten, and I asked her for a kiss, and she said no, and my daughter burst out laughing, and I started laughing too, and my wife started laughing. because it was very much it sounded like pure rejection, but the truth was she didn't feel good. She has a heat blister on her lip, and kissing it would have made it hurt her. And so, but the way she said no made my daughter laugh, and my daughter started tearing up, and her laughter made me laugh, and I started tearing up. So just about last week.
Beautiful. And you have an amazing beard. So I'm really curious, who's your beard role model?
Odin.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I can't say Thor because otherwise I'd have to dye my beard red.
Maybe at one point we'll see.
We'll see.
And what is an action or a non-action that makes you feel the most alive in your life?
Talking. That's what I do best is talk. What I do best is talk about what I love. What I do best is talking about what I love in front of other people. And when I'm there, I'm fully present with who I am and what I love and other people. And so those are the things that make me feel the most alive is connecting with lots and lots of people.
I know that. I felt that. And could you share some about your morning, day, and evening routine that makes you keep on pointing your life?
Well, mornings are my controlled substance. Mornings are the things that I have to have the most intentionality around. I'm up, I drink coffee, I go to the gym, and then I sit back down and I work on my day timer. And my day timer is it's me creating my day. I believe that if you don't create your day is going to create you. And this the morning time is the time that I can sit here and look out at this beautiful view. I have my coffee, which I'm finished with now. I've already been to the gym, and now the day belongs to me. Now I know what's happening during the day. So after I accomplish things on my day timer, the evenings I want to leave open. The evenings I want to leave for relaxation. And in Freemasonry, we talk about 8 hours for spiritual work, 8 hours for working around the home and being with your family, and then 8 hours. Those 8 hours are also for your work, and then 8 hours for relaxation and recuperation. So once I get the spiritual work done and the business work done and the family work done, then I want to leave it open. And maybe my kids will be there. Maybe they're doing their own thing. Maybe my wife and I will have an adventure, or maybe we'll all do nothing and just relax.
And do you have any way that you evaluate your day or put awareness back to your day plan and see how it went?
Yeah, I absolutely track everything in my day planner. I'm a big believer in if you don't write it down, it didn't happen. And I know as adults, we all know that, we all understand that legally, if you didn't write it down, if you didn't take notes, if you didn't record what took place, then you can't really say what took place. So in my day timer, I have a little, I have a little circle right here. And each one of those lines, for example, this word right here says body. So this is how I'm going to measure how many half-hour time periods I focused on my body. Over the next circle will say finances. The next circle will say home. The next circle will say RTC, which is my residential treatment center. The next circle, or the next pie slice, will say Fire Mountain Enterprises, which is my speaking business. My wife and I have multiple businesses, so it's important that we track how much time we spent in them. But I want to track how much time on a daily basis that I spent in worship. I want to track how much time I spent exercising. I track everything. I track who I call. I track appointments I have. You can see here, I track how many push-ups, sit-ups, weightlifting, how much time I spent on the exercise bike. I track the food I eat. if you don't track it, how do you know what to fix? If you can't look at a year and call it successful, how do you know what to go back and change? So I truly feel that tracking everything is the key.
Yeah. And I mean, you said present, and I've been, since we met at the Enlightened Warrior Training Camp, I've been talking about you quite a lot to my friends and my wife and family and so on. And the word I've been using the most is present. So when you just shared some minute ago now about your wound and how you have experienced people not being present with you and how important that is, I'm so grateful. Like I cannot imagine where you come from, and I'm really excited about hearing that. But the full circle you come in the way that you show up. Really, the moment when we met, when you were training in the Enlightened Warrior Camp, the intensity in your present, like really when I met you there, the present in your eyes, and yeah, it really touched my heart just by watching you. And I mean, that would have been enough if you wouldn't have said anything, if you wouldn't have done anything. That would have been enough, just for another person, and especially for me, another man showing up with that present that is so touching and so inspiring. So yeah, I just really want to honor you for that present that you have, and that huge gift. And really, for myself, it's really a big, aspiration to learn that intensity of present that you shared. And with that, a quote from you is that you believe that people have more power than they acknowledge.
Yeah.
And so can you tell me when you realized that you had more power than you thought before, and how you came to bring your own power forth?
In many times in my life, I was a late bloomer. Like I was a drug addict until I was 28. At 28 years old, I had moved back into my parents' house, was living part-time in my truck. I was only seeing my daughter after school and on weekends. And really, I was as far away from this world as I could be and still function in this world. And I was barely functioning. I really did not enjoy being in my body. I did not enjoy being in this place. I did not enjoy, the only thing I enjoyed was my daughter. And I was willing to trade that time with my daughter for smoking marijuana and drinking. The experience of getting clean and sober, and then the experience of realizing that I have a gift with working with kids, just by being with them. And then as I became a single father again, my first wife and I had gotten divorced, and then I started to I started to spend a lot of time, 50% of my time with my daughter. And I realized I was good at it. I was good at being a dad. I was good at being a mentor for other small children. And I was good at teaching other people how to be a mentor for other small children. And after a few years of just realizing, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and having a boss at the time, having an employer at the time who saw my skill and utilized it, who said, hey, let's make you not just working with the kids, but let's let you train people to work with kids because you're good at working with kids. Mm. And through those few years, I started dating a woman, and then we end up becoming married. And then we went to our own experiential camp. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's called the Enlightened Warrior Training Camp. I was a student in that program. Yeah. And I was a student in that program. And in that program, I had a few things happen to me. Number one, my wife and I were doing an event together where I realized that we made a really good team. Like we're together, without having to talk a lot, we actually accomplished quite a bit very easily and very well. It was, and I was very impressed with us. I was very impressed with my wife and I. And in my mind, I started to wonder, what else can we do? What else is it that we can accomplish? And then I went through another event by myself, the event that I teach now. And it was during that event that I realized, man, I'm holding back. I'm holding back on my wife. I'm holding back on my kids. I'm holding back on my work. I'm holding back on who I am. I've spent so much of my life feeling alone and unloved that there was no reason for me to truly get out there and be great, to just be awesome, to be amazing, to do amazing things, to quit telling myself I couldn't and start telling myself I will, and then following through on your word. So it was at that event that, again, now I teach that event, that I just said, man, stop it. Stop being small. Start being big. Because inside I felt huge. And every time I was huge on the outside, someone would tell me to be quiet, a teacher, a family member. I was loud. I was obnoxious. I was aggressive. I was very easily distracted. I wanted to do so much. My first word as an infant was more. I want more. And my mom said, "Do you want more?" And I said, "More." And that was my first word, and that remains my experience. I want more. But I had never, ever found a way to expect or ask for more from me. The story behind everything is that my father chose alcohol over being a father to me. And so that was my wound. And then I wounded my daughter by choosing drugs over being with her. So the healing has been to choose her over drugs, to choose my marriage, to choose being a stepfather, to choose being a leader, to choose being a businessman, to choose being, and not let any of the things that hurt me hold me back. Okay, so we have wounds and we have scars of things that hurt us. I was sexually assaulted, but I want to move forward that because I want more out of life. Not just that. I don't want to just be the guy who was abandoned by his father and sexually assaulted by his friend. I want to be the guy who did whatever he could to get what he wants, to get what he needs, to give his family what they deserve. And that just means more. And sometimes that means you work out more, and sometimes that means you do your daytimer more, and sometimes that means you do more work and you do more. And now I get to do more fun because I did more work and I saved more money and I made more money and I taught more and I got over my fear more. And now I get to experience life more. I get to be present with success more. So my own journey of being wounded and then my own apotheosis of discovering I have way more than I've been acting like I have. And then I do it. And I attract people like you who are doing more with your time and your energy into my life. And that gives me more. So it's all about the more. I want more.
Beautiful. And I'm really curious because in my experience, it's this moment, like this awareness of, this more and this potential that you speak about, that you like this energy that you felt, like there is awareness, but then at some point it turns into like action. Now I'm gonna act upon this more. I'm gonna step in and actually do it, not only be aware of it. Do you remember a moment or when you say like, now this is it, this is what guides me, from going like I knew this is right to now this is right?
I think the first time I stopped using drugs, which was the last time I used drugs, is that there had been so much talk. This is one thing that people forget. Thinking about doing something is not doing something, but it feels like it is. When I took drugs, in my mind, I was on this big adventure. I would do serious hallucinogenics and a lot of them, and I would journey to other realms of existence, and I would travel to the heavens and visit with the gods, and I would journey to the past, and I never left the couch. I never left the house. I wasn't on a journey. I was on a lie. I was sitting there on my ass, or my laying there on my back, and I wasn't doing anything. And the first time I stopped doing drugs, I suddenly had all this time. I suddenly had all this energy. I suddenly had all this money. And I had two choices. I could do drugs, or I could do something, anything else. And I had tried doing drugs for 14 years, and it didn't get me anywhere. So I did anything else. And all of a sudden I started really going places. I went to England. I had never, ever felt safe to travel. And suddenly I went to England 2 years after I stopped doing drugs. I went to England with my best friend, and I had one mystical experience after the other in Stonehenge, in Castle Corfe, in Absbury, in a churchyard. And it was because I did something, and it was small, and it wouldn't look big to nowadays standards on what I've done, but it was enough. And when people are suffering from depression and anxiety, if you have a child that is dealing with depression and anxiety, the advice is tell them to do one thing. If you're a parent, if you suffer from anxiety, depression, do one thing. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. And lots of people like to try to put all this pressure on. Oh, you have depression? Well, you need to go to India and help an orphanage. That's so many things. They're never going to do it. Oh, you have anxiety? Well, you need to go to the Humane Society and walk the dogs, and that'll give you fresh air and breathing and connection with another. That's too much. Do one thing. One glass of water. Read one page. Read one page of a book. Just one. Do one push-up. Do one glass of water. Then you can go back to bed. You vacuum one room in the house and then go back to bed. It's okay. But just do one thing, and within a year, you will have done 365 things to change your life. If you do one thing, it doesn't matter how small. Everybody thinks they got to do something big every single day. Just do one thing different every single day, and in a year, 365 things. That's amazing. That's massive growth. That's huge potential. From one thing. It's The Slight Edge, which is a great book, by the way. The Slight Edge. One thing.
One thing. I can really relate to that. I've been like in the past, I've been back and forth working out. I've been doing it for 6 months, and then took a break of 2 months, and then I'm doing it for 3 months, and then back and forth. And then about a little bit more than a year ago, because I also had made it way too complicated. So I created a workout program for myself that is basically, it's like a warm-up. It's like, you can call it like some Qigong or it's basically a warm-up session that takes like 3 minutes to do. And I can do it if I am feverish. I can do it if it's cold outside. And after I've done that, I might do my real workout, But my commitment was to this really low bar.
Good.
And since then, now it's been like somewhere like 420 days. And I've been doing 405 days of those. I've been doing this workout. And
405 days. Listen to that number. 405 days. You have done 405 workouts. Like, look, if you eat one donut, right, it's not going to kill you. It's not a problem. 405 donuts, that's a problem. Right? But if you eat one donut a day, look at how one donut a day can affect your life. One cigarette never killed anybody. One cigarette a day, that can cause health problems. Right? And that's the thing that we're talking about. What if, as a father, you did one thing a day, one thing, to be a better dad? Just one. How would your life be different in a year? How would your children experience you differently? What if you did one thing a day to improve your relationship? Doesn't matter how small. Maybe it starts with a text. I'm thinking about you. I love you. And that's all you do differently that day. But the next day, maybe you do too. And the next day, maybe you give a back rub. And the next day, and then all of a sudden, a year later, you have a new relationship because you can't do 350, 65 things differently and have the same experience. That changes everything. 365 small things is a big thing. 405 workouts is a big deal. It doesn't matter how small the workout is. Doing it 405 times makes all the difference in the world.
Now, and when I met you last time, there were so many truths and insight that just struck me so much, and I've changed my life and my relationship as a gift through what you shared. And I'm really curious to hear from you, like, what is the number one truth that you have realized in your life that if everyone else in the world also would realize that on an like embodied level, what would that be? And how did you come to realize this truth?
It is the quote that you read at the beginning. It's not about being better. It's about giving up the struggle to be different from who you are. I think we spend so much time, energy, effort, money to be different, to feel different. And I think the fastest road to unhappiness is comparing yourself to others, is self-criticism, and is trying to be like other people. The concept of sonder. Do you know what that word means? Sonder? Sonder means everybody's life, everybody's experience is as unique and complicated as yours. And it's the realization. Sonder is you walk down the street and realize that everybody's life is as amazing, heartbreaking, complicated, complex, chaotic, simple as your own. That's what this world is made of. And rather, we see the picture of someone on a magazine and they've got huge arms and a six-pack, and we say, I want that. Do you want that for the right reasons? Do you want that because that six-pack is you? Or do you want that because you want to be them? Because that's a big difference. When I started working with children many, many years ago, I had an experience with one of them it's a very detailed, and it's a why I teach at the Enlightened Warrior Training Camp, and why I teach at Wizard Camp, and why I understand the jester archetype and the wizard archetype and the bard archetype, the poet, the singer, the songwriter, the dancer, the director, the actor. And it's because I was working with a child who was really struggling to be in a group. And we spent days trying to figure out, how can we get that child into the group? How can we make that child move forward into where the group is going? This group of children who were having so much fun, and this child was miserable. This child was scared. This child was unhappy. And we kept trying to do things to make the child happy. And I realized that there was a way, instead of trying to bring the child to me, I could go to the child. And the moment I showed up with who the child was, the moment I was present with the child was happy. And I didn't have to change the child. And I started to look around at all the children. And I said, I have spent 4 years trying to change children so that they're happy. I have spent 30 years trying to change me so that I'm happy. And really what would make me happy is to be me. And the moment that I recognized that child and actually created an environment for that child to be themselves, the child was completely realized and free. And so I just recreated that for myself. I stopped trying to fit into the world. The Druids have this saying called the truth against the world. And that's my truth, is that I'm me and the world is the world. And instead of me trying to fit in the world, I'm going to fit the whole world inside of this. And we can do that to every child. The world can fit inside of them. And the world can fit inside of you as long as you expand your being to contain it. I'm not going to try to live in this world. I'm going to live. That's it. And the world can take it or leave it. The world can come or go, but I am going to experience Aaron. And I want to create a space for my wife to do that and for my children to do that and to teach that it's not about being better. It's about more this, more you, more me in this world, more. Expand yourself. Don't try to find that special place where you can belong. You are. So be and do and feel and think. And it's not about the world's experience of you. It's about your experience of the world. That's the priority. It's not about taking care of the world. It's about taking care of yourself so that you can take care of the world. Put yourself first and watch what happens to your life. Stop comparing yourself to magazines. Start comparing magazines to yourself. Like flip it. That was the experience, is making a space for the child to be himself. And he was happy. And I said, I want that. So I made a space for myself. And now I'm happy. And that's all I did, was teach my children to do the same. Don't compromise. Be you. Be you at all costs.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
I also believe that the world would be a much better place if we all realize this truth. And you're passionate about leadership, obviously. I'm happy to hear your point of view. My idea is that there is only one kind of leadership, and that's basically the one you speak about, and that's self-leadership. And all other leadership is a result of that. If someone is like following me, it's because they see he's a good self-leader. My self-leader want to join him in his force. We are two self-leaders that are better together. But can you share about your view on leadership and what you see happens? Both, like, some leaders are focused on result, and some are focused on the present moment and execution, and how you feel that the leader can move in these realms, and what you see happen when a person is around someone else that is in his full power in his leadership.
Yeah, I don't actually think I'm a good leader. And I know I have been a leader for a long time, but I don't think I'm that good of one. And so that's never been my focus to actually be in charge. I find myself in charge a lot. I find myself leading people a lot. I'll go to an event and I will naturally want to take over. I will naturally begin to speak and draw the attention towards me. I will, but as far as taking a group of people to a goal with a dynamic system that is equal reward and consequence so that people feel accountable to a process that I've created, I don't think that's me. And I think more like you, there was a saying, or at least a picture I saw once, that there were leaders who were out there who told people to dig a hole. And then there were leaders who got up earlier than everybody else and started digging because a hole needed to be dug. And other people saw that leader doing things and said, oh, I'm going to do that. I'll help him dig the hole. And by the time there were 10 people digging the hole, the leader said, there's enough people digging the hole. I'm going to go make some rope. And then the leader would go make some rope, and people would say, okay, he's now making rope. We need to make rope too. And some people would go make rope and the rest of the people would finish the hole. I never set out to lead people. I set out to be important, but that was because my father didn't think I was important. And I always need to be clear. I have a father and I have a dad. My father was not present in my life. He was absent. He was an alcoholic. He never called. He never wrote me. He was not in my life. But I grew up watching a man be a dad to me and his other two sons. He adopted me when I was 4 years old, and he was a good man, and he was a good husband, and he was a hard worker. So I got both examples. I got the example of the worst kind of father to be and the best kind of dad to be. And my dad was a leader. He was a leader in the community. He was a leader at work. He was a very successful businessman. And my mom was a leader in the community and was very successful in being involved in many, in the homeowners association and the local theater and a book club and a La Leche League leader and helping women. So I watched my mom and my dad lead people, but I didn't want to lead. I wanted to be important enough to follow. And I don't need followers. I don't have a list of followers. I don't run my own seminars and workshops so that people listen. I don't want to be a guru to anybody or a master to anybody. I want to teach what I love because I'm good at it. And I want to travel, and I want to be with my wife and my kids, and I want to do the right thing in this world. And I get up early to make sure that I do my part. And people tend to listen when I talk because I'm good at talking, because I practice a lot. I am always talking. But I love talking and I love being important. And if that's what makes me a leader, is talking and wanting to be important and being out earlier than other people and doing the right thing, which is helping for me, which is helping families and helping kids and helping teenagers. And if people want to get behind that, great. But if they don't, I'm not going to stop. I'm not doing this because I'm leading. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. Yeah. I run a podcast to help families and parents who are struggling because it's the right thing to do. I run a treatment center, a mental health treatment center for children. And the children live there for 4 months. It's called Fire Mountain Residential Treatment Center. I do that because it's the right thing to do. I teach at kids camps and teen camps because it's the right thing to do, is to be a good mentor. And I do that because I had a mom and a dad who did the right thing. And it was good to watch them. It was good to feel good. And they were important people in the community because they did the right thing. I don't think anybody was looking to lead other people. So I don't think I'm a good leader. I'm just good at getting up early and doing the right thing.
I very much appreciate the ownership that you have of it. Like it's not far beyond in the distance. It's very here and now. It's in you.
I think my employees think that I'm an arrogant, self-centered talker. And I am. I'm arrogant and I'm very centered on myself. I'm centered in myself, and I talk a lot. So I can understand why my employees think that. But we have one of the most successful treatment programs in the United States because that was my wife's and my vision. I think my wife is a good leader. She works really, really hard, and she has high expectations of people. And I think people want to be as good as she is at what we are doing. And so I think my wife inspires people to work hard. And people who don't want to work hard, they don't want to be around my wife. I think I'm really good at talking. I think I'm really good at sounding like I know what I'm doing. But I also think I'm very passionate about what we do. And I think more people should do it. And I think more people should get up early and take care of their body and use a day timer and help children and families. So I talk loudly about it.
Beautiful. And you've been working a lot with kids and parents with addictions. So in the Dadpreneur Revolution, we have a few points I will get to soon. But what is like the number one skill or action or leadership that you see that dads can take to prevent their kids from getting into addictions?
Yeah, there are four. Hi, Seamus. There are four things a family can do to keep their kids away from drugs and alcohol and self-harm. So understand, I don't just work with families who are struggling with addiction. I work with families who are struggling with mental health and addiction. We're a mental health facility. Addiction is a big part of mental health work. So there are four things a family can do to keep their children from risky behavior, right? From using and being at risk of drug use and mental health issues. And what's amazing is that all four of these things are free. They're 100% free to do. First thing that a family can do is family dinner. Eat dinner together. Eat dinner together a lot. No cell phones, no TVs, no computers, no movies, no Netflix. Eat dinner. Don't talk about work. Don't talk about school. Be together. Ask questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you want to travel in the whole world? Who would you want to have dinner with if you could have dinner with anybody who's currently alive? Which movie star would you like to go on a vacation with? Just have conversations. Family dinner. Number two, get to know your children's friends' parents. We as parents begin to isolate ourselves from other parents. We don't know who our kids are hanging out with. And we all like to say, oh, those kids my kids are hanging out with. I don't like those other children my kids are hanging out with. And I hate that parents say that, because other parents are saying that about your kids. And I know you would be very, very defensive and angry if someone said, oh, that Aaron kid, don't let your kids hang out with that Aaron kid. So I don't think parents should speak badly about other kids. I think they should get to know the parents. And I think that if parents started having barbecues and get-togethers and parties with each other and really got to know what all the children are doing and who all the children are and who all the parents are, I think they would start to work together then. So that's number two. Number three, children need something to do between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So after school until dinner time, children need to be doing something. Children coming home and sitting in front of the TV or in front of the computer is not healthy for them. Having that much homework is not healthy for them. Not having anything to do means they're going to find something to do. And I guarantee you that what the children figure out to do is the parents aren't going to be happy with. But the children will do it because they think that's what adults do. And that's a whole nother conversation about rites of passage. The fourth thing that we need to do is teach our children what's really going on in the brain when we use drugs or when we have mental health issues. We make up things. We say fake things and we say false things. We tell them that drugs are bad, and then we say all this kind of ridiculous things that aren't based in truth. Parents need to understand what happens to the brain when when children watch TV and they're too young. They need to understand what happens when a child sees something on the internet that's very violent or very graphic sexually. They need to understand how it affects the brain, and they need to teach the children so that the children learn how to protect their brain. So, family dinner, getting to know your friends, your kids' friends' parents, the something to do between 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and the real information about brain chemistry and brain development. Mm-hmm. That's how you keep your kid away from drugs. That's how you protect your children against mental health issues.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels definitely so doable for everyone. Like they're, as you said, they're free. They really know
free
for these things.
Yeah,
it takes the focus and the dedication to do it.
Yes.
So we are just about to hit our 45-minute mark, and I would love to ask you to stay on, but I totally respect your time and know that you have a beautiful holiday and a beautiful time there. How do you feel about staying on for a couple more minutes?
I'm happy to. I'm watching my kids swim, and my wife's over there reading a book, and I'm talking. So we're all happy.
Beautiful. So many men and dads I talk to are on a point where they're like looking to achieve something, get to an end, get to result where they feel that they're finally, I will be there. Finally, I can stop fighting. Finally, I am good enough. Like if I only do this, my wife will, make love to me more, or my kids will see who I actually am.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on this and how to kind of, stop that impossible fight?
Yeah, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's not what life's about. Life's about finding the beginning, not the ending. This idea that if we do this plus this, it equals this. That's just the beginning of the equation. It's never the end. We have to stop hoping to achieve something. We're not here to finish anything. We're here to start something that lives on after we die. I think men have an ability to think and feel about death that is reserved for the masculine brain. And I think that our desire to finish something before we die so that we can feel accomplished is where men compare themselves to other men who've accomplished something. But what we don't understand is that those men still fight with their wives. Those men still have children that go, "Ugh, my dad's an idiot." And that's part of life. That doesn't go away because you've made $1 million or you've rebuilt that car or you've finally started the company and your company's doing very well. Look, we are even built. Our bodies are designed to finish something. Even when we have sex, our job is to get to a goal and then we're done. But that's not life. And if you look at what's actually taking place, our job is to do something so that life can begin. We're the pre-process to life beginning, not the ending. Our destructive nature as men, we forgot what's built after things die. We forgot that cutting down the tree builds a house. We forgot that when an environmental situation comes to an end because of a man's actions, it's so that something new can begin. We're here to start something big. And I imagine a lot of this is attached to purpose. Figuring out what it is we're actually here to do. So my advice is stop trying to finish. Just work. If you're doing work based on something that you love, it won't feel like you have to finish it. It'll feel like you're starting something great. Do something amazing so that it doesn't end when you die. Don't complete something. Start something.
Amazing. That's a completely new way of seeing it for me. So thank you so much for that point of view. And you're, as you say about starting, you have started a lot of things. You have a lot of things going on. So could you share what's your next goal? And if anything was possible, what resources, what connections, what partners, what people to bring in any kind of way would come to you, what would that be? And how would you get help from that resource?
So, currently I have the treatment center, Fire Mountain Residential Treatment Center. I have the podcast Beyond Risk and Back. My next big project is called Parenting a World Changer, which is teaching parents how to raise kids that can change the world. And it's going to be big, and I'm excited about it. But there's nothing I need that I don't have in place. What I can do differently is believe differently, that I have what I need, and if I don't have it, either I don't need it or it's going to show up as long as I'm ready to receive it. What I what is required to accomplish what I am going to accomplish next is a different belief. It took me 10 years to build my last business into a very, very successful business. Now I believe I can do it in 2. And so my commitment to that belief will inform my actions. My commitment to that belief will be that the people who can help me will show up. I'm not a good business partner. I'm not, again, and maybe this is because of my belief system. Maybe this is because I don't think I'm a good leader. But everybody who I needed to help me build my last business showed up. This business, they'll show up. That I believe. So this is about changing this. This is about me realizing that I can do what I did in 10, I can do in 2. And it's everything will change according to the belief. Free your mind, your ass will follow. That's the piece. The limitations that I set on, well, I won't be able to do it if I can't. That's up here. That's not out here. The world has everything I need. My resourcefulness is in place. I got to believe. I do believe. I believe that in 2 years, I can accomplish what I did in 10. And I'm excited about that because then I want to see if I can do it in 1. So that's my next project, as I'm going to help parents raise their children to change the world.
Beautiful. I have the final question is from a fellow warrior that I reached out to the warriors in general, ask, do you have a question for Aaron? And this is a very, very personal question. It's from an anonymous writer. And the question is about, in the beginning, is how can I go about to heal the relationship with my dad? And this quick story behind this is a childhood of narcissistic abuse, to make it short. And, this person has come a long way, but really want to bring it into fulfillment. Like there is disappointment that the dad still did not show up. So do you have any thoughts and advice how to move ahead and to bring in alignment and peace?
Yeah. I think what I hear is that this person is still waiting for their dad to show up so that they can heal finally and completely. The final piece requires the dad to change. And I think that especially with narcissistic abuse, that's the biggest thing, is that here's this person who is mentally ill and you wish they would just change. You wish they would just change how they talk to you. You wish how they would just change how they deal with people. You wish they would just change their focus for 1 second. And they're not going to. And now that's something that you carry, that you wish this person would just do something different so that you could be happy. We call that the if-then. If only they, then I. If only they would do something different, then I can be happy. If only they would change, then I could sleep better at night. Your freedom is only attached to your father. Your true and complete freedom is only attached to your father because you've attached it to your father. Your complete and total healing is attached to your father because you've attached it to your father. And you keep waiting to take this leap of faith, but you're still holding on to your father. We forget that forgiveness is not about them. Forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness is about, it's for you. It's not for your dad. Your dad was a narcissistic abuser. That's who your father was. And he's not going to change, especially if he hasn't gotten help or treatment or therapy. He's not going to change. There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. He will not change until it's in his best interest to change. So, is attaching your healing or the completeness of your life to your father in your best interest? or are you just repeating your father's habits? That's number one. Number two is to remember this. Is the author male?
Female.
Female. Okay. One thing that a father must do is wound their child. And that's deep psychology. Your father did this to you to separate from you. And that's what caused most of your pain. But it also is the way that your father said, you don't want to be me. You may not even want to be around me because I can't do this. Your father's mentally ill. True narcissism and being abusive is a mental illness. That is a dysfunctional brain. This is not a view on you or an attitude towards you. It is a dysfunctional brain. There's no excuse. There's no reason. There's plenty of science behind it, but that's not going to help you. What's going to help is you recognizing your father had to do it this way. That was the only way you were going to be free. Your freedom is up to you, not your father. Your happiness is up to you, not your father. I'm so sorry for what he did to you. That's so painful to live life with a narcissist. I've watched people I love go through their life dealing with narcissistic spouses and parents, and it is unbelievably painful to watch. And tomorrow belongs to you. So what one thing will you do today to be free? It has nothing to do with your father. Nothing. He's done. You're not. Separate the two. It's a wound that won't heal, maybe. Maybe it is that will bleed for the rest of your life. I certainly know that not having a father for me is not something. I tried to fill it with drugs. I tried to fill it with women. I tried to fill it with food. Nothing fills it. It doesn't matter how many people I'm talking to or how many stages I'm on or how much money they pay me. I will still feel unloved by my father. So what I've done is give the gift I've never received. I have learned how to give what I never got from him. And I have become a bastard father to 1,000 young children who need help from a man, who need love from a man, who need support from a man, who need to be listened to by a man. My biggest wound became my biggest gift. Turn your wound into a gift. Give what you've never received.
Thank you. It's this is so much about, like, I'm on a mission to redefine what it means to be a provider, and that's what the dadpreneur revolution is. And that's like, before, the old way of being a provider is to show up with the cash and then check out.
Yeah.
Not be there physically or emotionally, just like my rules, not yours. And then we are far beyond that when it comes to being a father, but actually not really. Like, it's so deep in our culture that we're not really there. So I have 4 parts for the provider. It's to show up physically, show up emotionally, provide financially, and provide with your inspired leadership. That's my 4. And going back to 2 generations back, I don't know much more, but my grandfather, he showed up financially. So he was the old kind of provider. He came home and the kids were to be quiet, not speak to him. The food was to be on the table. And he was a great man. He did that, but he checked out on the others. And my dad then said, okay, my dad didn't show up, so I need to show up. So my dad was there physically for me, but I missed him emotionally, and I missed his leadership. So it was way after I designed these 4 that I realized, oh, my dad, this is the story. And now I'm committed to show up, with emotional presence and with inspired leadership for my kids. And just as you say, I know there will be number 5 and number 6 on the list when it comes to my kids, what they are to give. But it's really, for me, to see that circle and the gift. Like, I have the same wound in me, what my dad did not give me, but he did what his father didn't do. and I really honor him for that. He was wounded, and he gave his best,
Right,
to heal that, and I will do the same. And by that, I think we generation by generation we create something really amazing.
if everybody in the world began to give what they never received, I don't think the world would lack for anything.
True. So I will share in the notes all the ways how people can connect to you. Do you have a preferred way to for people to reach out or to follow you?
I do. Always on Facebook is an easy way to get with me, on Messenger to send me a message. I have many Facebook pages. You're welcome to find any of them. My email address is aaron@firemountainprograms.com. Aaron, AARON, at firemountainprograms.com. I have a free gift for everybody if people are interested. Awesome. Is that something? Can I offer that? Okay. This is for parents. Every 3 months, I run an event called the Parent Weekend. And this is to help parents whose kids are struggling, or to help parents who don't want to struggle with their kids. It's 100% free. And you need to go to firemountainprograms.com/parent-weekend. firemountainprograms.com/parent-weekend. Sign up for the free event, and when the next one comes up, we'll send you all the information. You can attend it from home on the computer. You'll be able to interact with myself and my cohort, who is the executive director of a company and a brilliant therapist, an amazing author. And this is a 2-day event that's 100% free, where we're going to teach you everything that we teach parents whose children are living at our facility. So this is the information that parents need and want to help their kids who are struggling. So again, if your kids are struggling, or if you don't want your kids to struggle, this event's free, 100% free. So there's that. And then there's my podcast, Beyond Risk and Back. This is what I do every week. You can go to beyondriskandback.com and catch all the episodes there. I'm coming up on my 100th episode, and I'm very excited. But this podcast is all about helping parents, and I interview some of the top experts in child care, child development, mental health, and addiction, just to help families. I want to help as many parents as I possibly can. So Facebook, beyondriskandback.com, and firemountainprograms.com/parent-weekend.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a big pleasure to chat with you, Aaron, and so much for taking some extra time. And I see here in the chat field, people are excited for your projects. So really beautiful. And again, like, I see you're showing up. You say you're not a great leader. Thank you for being a leader for me. I really respect and admire your work, and you inspire me to be a better man. And I'm so grateful for that gift.
Thanks for saying that. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show.
Thank you. And we'll come back with the Dadpreneur Revolution podcast in about a week with a new exciting guest that will launch in a couple of days. And until then, I wish all the dadpreneurs and men and people stepping up to be the best version of themselves to rock on. And we are here for you. Many blessings. Ciao.